Chapter 16. Righteousness Doubt. 1. For 3 months, I'd been attending that church with Nora and Cassidy. And for 3 months, I was looking for Newton. It seemed like I'd seen him all the time, until I wanted to find him. It was as if he'd intentionally hidden from me. I even considered going to Oceanside Baptist just to see if I could run into him. Until one day, I spotted him from across the coffee counter at the gas station. "Newton!" He paid no mind. "Hey, Newton Fry!" Still nothing. "Newton! Preacher Newton!" "Oh, hey," he said with disinterested acknowledgement. He stirred his cup as he walked past me toward the checkout. I nodded to the cashier. "I got this." Newton turned. "Thanks. Do I know you?" I'd seen him many times. He'd seen me many times. "Do I know you from OB?" His head cocked to the side with a look like he did recognize me. "OB?" I asked. "Oh, your church. No, you know a friend of mine." The cashier handed me 2 pennies as my change. I dropped them in the take a penny, leave a penny keeper. "Thank you," I said as she was already greeting the next customer. We walked outside next to the ice machine. I said, "Dominic." "Yeah, I know a Dominic. Lighthouse. How's he doing?" "Well, he's doing well. Say, are you still preaching? I haven't seen you in a while." His face turned red. His breath was deep. "I am not," he said with reluctance. "There's some things I'm working my way through right now." "Oh, okay. It's just that... Well, Dominic has taught me a lot the last few months. About the Bible. About Jesus. He gives God glory with what God used you for in his life. He talks about it openly at every Bible study that has anyone new, even if there's no one new, really." "What God used me for?" "As a vessel, a deliverer. He says that without you..." I shook my head. "He'd have never known God's grace." Newton rubbed his forehead. He was uncomfortable with this conversation. I was surprised at the response. Anyways, I wanted to say thank you to your face the next time I saw you. And here you were. Just that his story is encouraging to me. "Okay, yeah, you're welcome." He peeled the top off his to-go cup to blow off the steam before a sip. "Yeah, well, I'm not so sure anymore that without me, the people that heard wouldn't have heard from someone else in God's timing. Sovereignty. That's right, sovereignty. Predestination, predetermination. You know, I used to thank God when I'd drive by a couple cars and a fender bender. I'd say, 'Thank you, Lord, for protecting me.'" His hand raised into the air. "I'm beginning to wonder now, or at least lately, that perhaps I wasn't being protected, that it had nothing to do with me at all. Maybe God caused those cars to bump into each other. Maybe even with an injury, or worse, it was God completing his will through a chain of events." Maybe. I thought of the twists of my own existence, how I'd spent many hours, days. Could it have been weeks that I've pondered these same things? "So, you got saved?" "No, I guess you could say I'm working on that." His eyes squinted and mouth closed, a look of pity. "It's not something you work on." He waited for my name as he leaned in. "Finnegan. Working on it is contrary to the teachings of Jesus, Finnegan. You must have faith. Faith is the ingredient to salvation, an ingredient that you possess, that you control. It's God's grace that is a gift. For by grace you are saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God." His voice pitched up as his spirit awakened. He smiled a hopeful smile. Many believe Paul was saying that faith is the gift, but basic sentence deconstruction shows us that it's God's grace that is the gift. I think I get it. Intellectually, you may. But only when you're born again can you even begin to understand beyond the intellectual realm, Finnegan. I'd heard this before. This time, though, it was different. Before my journey through the scriptures began, the term born again seemed to be something that would only come from the vocabulary of a Southern Christian zealot. I'd only recently determined that my understanding who the Christian was, in the light of who God is, and I was all part of a superiority complex that was stored up within me, one that had been instilled in me long ago. "Where have you been going to church?" he asked as he walked to his chalky gray, unkempt car. It had a clergy parking permit hanging from his rearview mirror. The door squeaked as he opened it. "St. Paul's," I said, expecting to at least get a glance of disapproval. "You know Otis, too?" "Yeah, very well." "Stay close to him, Finnegan, because he's close to God. That I'm certain of." He jumped in his car and started the scratchy-sounding engine. "God bless you, Finnegan. Come by Oceanside sometime to see what we crazies are up to." I waved as he backed out and drove away. 2. She sat on the swing next to me, leaving no space between us. "Hey, baby, I thought you might want this," Nora said as she handed me a cold beer. "Ooh, thank you, sweetie. I didn't know if you heard me come home." "Careful, I already opened it for you." She took a slurp from the top of her can. "Well, this isn't your routine. Figured you must have had quite a day. So what are you doing?" "Watching the trees dance." The shadows were like a kaleidoscope across the St. Augustine grass, the perfect shade of green within the spectrum, mingling with a legion of shadows. I put my arm around her as we sat back. Nora pressed her toes against the ground to push us a little higher. The chain creaked. "Bad day?" She tilted her head down, turning her face up to get a better look at me. "No, not really. Just a lot on my mind." The first sip was deliciously medicinal. "I've been thinking." A car appeared from behind the hedges. Mercedes. Black. "Is that?" We watched it cruise by. The windows were tinted. "Is that Pastor Smith?" "No, I don't think so." "Yeah, that's Smitty." The car turned at the corner, leaving our neighborhood. "What's he doing around here?" "Yeah, I don't think that was him." "That was his tag, Nora. HEDYD for you." Nora just stared into the street, saying nothing. "He died for you?" "His tag, Nora." "Huh. Maybe he's checking in on somebody." Her calmness made me realize I was getting a little excitable for no good reason. "Maybe." We reclined again against the back of the swing. Nora took a good drink. Swallowed. "Maybe he was checking in on Otis." "Yeah." I took a good drink, too. Yeah, that's probably it," I agreed. "Where's Cass?" "Darcy's." Of course. A gust moved the trees hard to the north. The Spanish moss was slow to return after the trees returned to their positions. I looked at Nora. My eyes lingered. "You look nice." "Thank you." She patted my knee. "Don't even think about it." "What?" "Okay. Seriously, I don't know what you're talking about." "Daddy! Hey, little one." Cassidy jumped up onto the swing, wiggling her way in between us. Nora scooched, giving Cassidy a spot, then kissed Cassidy on the head. "Oh, Cassidy, I almost forgot to tell you," I teased. "Mrs. Wilkerson called." "What did she say?" "Oh, I remember. No summer vacation. You and Darcy are to report to class first thing in the morning." "Yep, I heard about that," Cassidy shot back, used to the silliness. "Your boss called me, too." "What do you have to say?" "Said you have to work while me and Mama go to Grandma and Grandpa's." She smiled, one tooth missing right in the front. We sat for a bit, listening to the chain squeak, the trees blowing, the occasional car passing by. Cassidy said, "This is boring me to death." "To death?" Nora said with a laughing tease. "Can I go back to Darcy's, please?" she asked, knowing we would say yes. "Be back by 6, I said. "It's 6 now. That's why I came home, Daddy, because it's 6 now." Her face was serious. "Sorry, 7 then?" I looked at Nora for approval. Cassidy kissed me on the cheek, jumped off the swing, and ran. Nora, with her voice elevated to get Cass's attention. "Hey, no kiss for—" But Cass kept running. "Well, I guess I don't count." "She loves me more. Everybody knows that," I said. "So you were saying?" "What?" "I've been thinking." Nora wafted her hand to help me remember. "Oh, yeah." I leaned forward, placing my elbows on my knees. "I've been thinking about going to Kashmir. The side controlled by Pakistan, not India. Not that that's a selling point. It isn't. In fact, it's more dangerous. The mission. Yeah, with some of the guys in our men's group. Honey, this is something you should really think about. Pray about. I know it's not a vacation, Nora." "I understand the trip, sweetie. Otis is organizing it. Gina told us about it Wednesday night." "Peter wants to go too. Said he believes God is calling him to go," I added. "Well, Sandy is calling him to stay. And I don't see Sandy not getting her way. It's kind of been all Sandy all the time since their counseling began." "Still," I pouted. I could hear it in my voice, and I could feel it in my heart. "You're right. I really should pray on this. Maybe I'd give it a couple weeks. We could pray together, starting tonight?" Nora's eyes showed slight surprise. I suppose we were both surprised by my request.